So yeah, it's very competitive. A lot of these people who are mortgage protection clients are going to complain. They've literally gotten a dozen mailers very similar to ours before all said and done. And so it's competitive, not in the selling sense. First guy in wins. The guy who gets in the door, makes a good connection, offers a good deal, is going to make the sale. Whereas the guy who is doing the agent where it's competitive at is there's just so many mailers that are used, and that suppresses response rates. That accounts to some extent for the higher price point on the leads. And if you're slow to the bat, you're going to feel the competition press, and it's going to be harder to get in front of these people. The income is vastly activity driven instead of passively driven. So like I said above, the fact that there's no renewals means that you've got to go out and get it every morning. You wake up unemployed, since this is straight 100% commission sales. You've got to go call people, set appointments, drive-bys, see people, try to get in, sell insurance. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. Your initial couple of years selling this stuff, if you're not recruiting or if you're not selling a passive-driven product, is it's all activity-driven. You've got to be in the situation where you're seeing the people constantly, and there's no way around it. Again, and here's another factor. The mortgage protection market in its heyday, back at its peak, was back in the mid-2000s when everybody and their mother was buying houses. There were liar's loans and subprime loans where people didn't even have to do credit checks to get loans and didn't have to provide tax statements. So people were buying a ton of house without a lot of validation. And so lots of buying of houses was going on. So a lot of mortgages were filed. And so it was a great time to be a mortgage protection agent because there was tons and tons of data, and you could stay relatively closer to home and stay busy with new prospects. Whereas after the housing crisis collapsed, mortgage protection kind of fell on hard times. Now at the filming of this in the late 2000 teens, it's definitely come back. It's not ever going to be back in any time soon like it used to be. But still, what happens is, because we use a very specific list, a lot of this goes back to the list. You may not have a lot of people selling or buying their houses in your area every single week. I'll give you the perfect example. If you want to run this on a full-time basis, which in my opinion is 20 leads a week, you're going to need to cover a 150 to 200 mile radius and be willing to drive that on a consistent basis, or you got to be willing to drop larger cities that are several hours away and work those areas and even potentially stay overnight a couple of nights. So I've talked to a couple agents. I know of one agent that lives in Dallas and will drop leads in El Paso. So this person will drive 9 hours to go to El Paso, work the 15 or 20 leads every couple of weeks. It's very good money, but and that's why she does it. But regardless of that, it is something that they make the sacrifice for. You're somewhat of a road warrior more than a lot of other lead programs. But in my area, I think I was mentioning, so where I live in a medium-sized town. And all around me are medium-sized towns within 2-hour drive, except Atlanta. Now, Atlanta's huge. But in order for me to get 20 leads a week, I would have to cover a city that's 2 hours away from me, another city that's 2.5 hours away from me, and then several surrounding counties of each of those cities, my city, and then suburban Atlanta, just to get 20 fresh leads generated weekly. So to me, that's crazy, right? I mean, I can't be in all those areas all the time. And so, but that's what you have to do in order to make this successful. So a lot of agents, what they do is they work a large metropolitan area. I knew of one agent that lived in rural Ohio that would drive to Columbus or Cleveland, and because those are very big cities, and work the leads that are in and around those counties, because he could get the required 20 leads a week. So this is something you have to commit to if you want to do this full time. You can't just work, especially if you live in a rural area. You might get only 30 sales a week of a house. And, if response rates for this particular product are 1% to 1.5%. So you may not get any leads at all. So you got to work these large areas in order to really maximize your time spent.